but this was all in an effort to bring equity because of understanding the historical background of young girls and women, how they were left behind before. So how can we bring them to a place where they're also competing equally with boys and men that are at the same level as them? Because for me, I'm thinking, although we're always asked what you want to be when you grow up, and we did write compositions about that. And sometimes it did change every time. Like when you're in grade 1, you want to be something else, and then when you're
everyone wants to be a doctor, a lawyer.
And by the time you get to high school, you want to be something that's different. So just think about how best can we bring it in at a younger age, and then start nurturing it from then. Like we're exposing you to, and a lot of people are saying, oh no, exposure is not a currency. But when you're still coming up, it is. Because you're getting into spaces that you would not get into if you did not have that certain talent. So you need to put your stuff out there, your work out there, before you can actually start seeing the monetary benefit of it.
Everybody, welcome to Scholastica. I am Nkosi Kumalo, bringing you this podcast live from ZITF. Today, my wonderful guest is an award-winning, wonderful human being who is a blogger, a gender advocate, a communication specialist, and so much more. But I'll allow her to share who she is and what she possesses. She is Tinashe Madamombe. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome, and it's great to be here. So, as you said, my name is Tinashe. I am a feminist communicator, a blogger, a writer, and also a gender advocate. I've also been named one of the 2025 40 Under 40 communicators by the Institute of Public Relations and Communications in Zimbabwe.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So besides that, I run a project called the Dorcas Project that works with vulnerable young women and orphan children. My passion is really with women and sharing their voices, and really I like spaces that allow us for women to be heard. I like a quote that says that for the longest time, anonymous was a woman, but for now, for us, there's no longer anonymous. When it comes to women, the story deserves to be told, and that's my position, to tell the story of women and girls.
Well, you heard it for yourselves. That's amazing. I want to know, though, behind this beautiful woman who's doing such amazing things in the community, who is Tinashe and who was she when she was younger? Yeah.
So I was named a confused child. For the longest, I'll go back to maybe my primary education. I loved doing a lot of things. I was sporty, I loved academics, and then also going into high school. But also in high school, something that we were always told was you needed to be one thing. Mm-hmm. I remember at some point I was on the first team for basketball, but also made first team for hockey. Wow. But I had to choose one because I couldn't be both. And that also just became who life sent me that way, that you always needed to be a master of one thing, not a jack of all, a jack or a jazz of all things. But as I grew up, I then discovered I could actually be more than one thing. So in high school, I did sciences, but here I am, having gone into social sciences. So my confusion came after that. I wasn't sure what I wanted to be or what exactly I wanted to study. So straight after school, I went into software engineering. And I only managed to do a year. And then I dropped out from the University of Zimbabwe. Took a short break. I went into commercial law with UNISA. See the confusion, why people call me confused. Only did a semester, dropped out again, and I enrolled in chemical engineering. Yeah, so I was sticking to the sciences, but I didn't know exactly where I would fit in. So I did chemical engineering for a year, came time to look for an attachment because it was a diploma, I hated everything about what I was studying. Like I would have any excuse to not go to school.
Yeah.
Fast forward, I didn't end up going for attachment assignment. I dropped out again. My family's background is in business, so I did start a couple of businesses as well. So I started doing business, joined the family business, started another small organization called Zimbabwe Young Women in Business, working with entrepreneurs that were under the age of 35. That was going really well. But during that journey, I did meet one of my mentors who then told me I didn't need to go back to school after discovering what is it that you love doing. And to me, working with women came naturally. I didn't have to think about it. I was just drawn to it. So even when issues came out that did not support women, it would always click, like, why is this happening? And I just needed to share my voice. So during that women's leadership training, I decided to go back and enroll in school and shifted and went into social sciences. So I went to the Women's University in Africa and I enrolled for a Women and Gender Studies degree. I never missed a day of school.
Oh, wow.
When I got into that program, I remember one time I was not well and my sister came home because she had heard I wasn't feeling well. And she didn't find me at home. So she calls me, like, why are you not at home? And I was telling her I'm at school. She's like, this is you now. You found yourself because you actually want to do this and you're actually going there. And whilst in school, I also then discovered my leadership qualities. Went in, was elected as Secretary General for the Students' Representative Committee in my second year. And then I was president of the SRC in my final year. During that, I also applied for a scholarship. There was an exchange program that's funded by the US state. So I was at the University of Maine studying women, gender, and sexuality studies as an exchange student. So came back, graduated. I was then hired as an information communications officer with one of the biggest women's rights organization movements in Zimbabwe before I even graduated. But that background came from, I started writing a lot even before I knew that I was actually writing. So I would write, I would journal, I would write articles, just photo opinions through the newspaper as a student. So my getting the job, I remember being in an interview and on the panel, the director said to me, you need to calm down, because I was nervous. But also at the same time, she was saying, you don't know the technical terms of the job that you're doing, but you know what you're saying. So I didn't know exactly the terms in communications at the time, but I knew what they were because I was already practicing it before I got there. So that combination of a women and gender studies degree and my background in writing and just participating in things, communication aspects, then landed me my first job. So I worked within the organization, then also got an opportunity to study at the University College Cork as an Irish Aid Fellow. I got another scholarship for my master's, so went to Ireland, studied international public policy and diplomacy. For me, that combination was important to fuse the two when it came to women's issues and policy issues, and also just how to communicate them, because I was already in a background of communications. How do we communicate women's issues in an effective way that will lead to changes in policy at a different stage? So although confused, I finally found myself at some certain stage in life. I did feel behind my colleagues at some moment, because they had graduated and I was still going around in circles. But I've also seen a lot that, in comparison, there's a lot of other people that are my age that went through the process of school, of graduating, but not in things that they love. So although they are in those positions in the head, they're not really happy with their careers. Some are changing their careers now because they're only starting to find out what they actually enjoy doing and are doing it now. So for me, it's been a long journey, but nothing that I regret. I love that my family was in support of, you can imagine joining one program and then dropping out, joining another one and then dropping out. But the support was always there in supporting the dream and what I wanted to do. And now here I am.
From listening to your story, I wouldn't say you were behind, you were becoming, you know, that's what I love to call it. You're never behind, you're just becoming who you're purposed to be, and that's important. And also it's making me realize how when you're blessed with so many gifts and talents and a bright mind, it's easy to become like an octopus with roller skates. Like purpose without discipline is like an octopus with roller skates, you know. So purpose needs discipline, and I'm so glad that eventually you found that which you loved, and at an early stage, because you could have discovered at 80, you know.
Yes.
So I'm really happy that you found what you loved at your prime. And you're thriving, because wow, what the things that you've done so far are amazing.
Thank you. And I love that, like you say, purpose needs discipline. And I really think that's something that's important, not only for the education system to lead to that, but also for the support system, of which for us, the family is the first base, touching base for children. So if a family understands how to nurture a child's purpose or their gifts, then it can also lead to a better direction when it comes to what they choose to be later on.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just wondering, there's this question that popped in my mind right now. A lot of times there's a struggle to choose between security and purpose. How do you draw that line?
That's true, and I think I'll go back to communications. And when you look at the generation that we have now, I know before when you said something like I want to be a writer, or I want to be an author, or I want to be in the arts, it was not the first choice that your parents would want you to go into. But I'm glad that the world is changing now. Like we see a lot of people having careers in content creation, social media management. So the direction is changing, and my hope is that parents especially would appreciate that change is there, and how best can they then nurture that. I've seen people that will say they will go into programs that their parents want them to go into. Say they'll go and study finance, for example, and after they're done, they'll submit the certificate and say, okay, I'm done. Now I'm going to go and do fashion designing, because you've done what your parents want you to do, and then you now want to chase your own dream. But I think there's a balance. There's a balance between that, between the two. But also, I would say to my younger self, there's always a way to infuse the two. So, for example, if I completed the way that I completed my Women and Gender Studies degree, but my passion is in writing, so I could, like I'm saying, I was always already writing, and I can then infuse that. I'm now writing about women's issues, but I've got a background in what I'm writing about. Even when it comes to policy analysis, you are analyzing from a gender lens because you've got the background in that. So there's always a way to infuse your passion and the academic part of it. Yeah.
So I guess that was saying your passions are in the everyday things that you do. He was saying he's more of a neat person. I wouldn't want to call it like OCD, but he likes order. When he leaves something on the table, he wants to find it where it is. If someone moves it, he puts it back. Are you like that?
Okay, not that I would, but I like structure. I like structure, yeah.
And look at you, you're already in a place that sort of requires structure, you know. Yeah, and writing requires structure. You can't just have words sporadically put. Yes. They need order. So it shows, yeah.
And you're right, it does show in your everyday life. And I think things that are easy to you, that come easily, that you don't have to think about it when you wake up. And that was it for me when I shifted careers. I don't need to think about it when I wake up that, oh, I'm going back to that job. I'm excited because it's things that I love to do. So even when I have to write something, sometimes my brain is not in the right space when I need to write an article or research on a paper or something. But it then can just come. Sometimes you're already maybe in bed and you're like, oh, I just got an idea. And then you're waking up to actually jot down the notes. So when you love something, it comes much easier and no one has to send you to do it.
True. For me, I love learning. I love conversation. deep conversation, like, and small talk here and there. But I love to learn. So this is why I enjoy doing this, because I'm learning in the process and I'm also having conversation. So yeah, who would have thought? I never would have thought that I'd be in such a space, because I thought by now I would be a doctor, maybe, an astronaut, but that was over the top. But yeah, it's possible still. But maybe I would be unhappy. But here, I'm happy. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, anyway, my second question for you is, how do gender issues feed into empowering future generations?
So when you speak about gender, I know a lot of people, when you hear gender, you would think women. But when we speak about gender, we're talking about both men and women, and addressing the inequalities that exist within society, and trying to come to a place of equity. So when we think about equity, we're talking about how can we improve someone else's life to put it at the same level, so that they compete at an equal scale. So we're not really saying we're making this person's life better than you, but we're equating you to give the same conditions. So this fits in very well when it comes to women's empowerment, because you were looking at women and thinking, what is it that leaves them behind? And like the mantra that we have already as a nation, that we're leaving no one behind, it's targeting then, when you look at a woman in a rural area, what would make her be left behind? A young girl that's learning in the rural area is different from a young girl that's learning in an urban area. So for them to be equal, or even with a young boy, for them to be equal on achieving their prospects in life, what do we need to do to make her life better? So thinking around just simple things like feminine hygiene products. So you'd hear a lot of struggle with young girls in rural areas when it comes to feminine hygiene products. So that for her not to miss school on a specific day because she is on a cycle, providing that for her would then bring her to the same level as who she's competing against. And that's already empowerment. And it comes through, we've seen it with how our nation, the education system, allowed girls before that had less points at A level to enter the same program as a boy. But this was all in an effort to bring equity, because of understanding the historical background of young girls and women, how they were left behind before. So how can we bring them to a place where they're also competing equally with boys and men that are at the same level as them? So when I think of gender, it goes just beyond a lot of things. It's just when you think about it at the top of your head, you're just thinking of the surface. But there's little things that you can identify when you use the gender lens, and thinking how best can we then put women at the same level as their counterparts.
When you speak, I can't help but think of the word identity. What's identity to you?
So when I think of identity, it's a lot about who I am, not who I've been told I am. So just recently, we're talking about, in a space that I was in, that who were you before the world told you who to be? So when you think about that, and as a woman, for me, who am I and who do I identify as? Not just the person I see in the mirror, but also just the person that I am inside. And identity comes from a lot of things. We identify ourselves from our historical lineage, but also even by how we are named, also plays a part in who I identify as. So for me, it goes deeper than just who I see in the mirror, but really just who I am on the inside and who I can speak to as. And when I think of being a Zimbabwean as my identity, what does that mean? What does it even mean to be Zimbabwean? When you think of that, it just goes beyond me having an identity number, but it speaks to what's my culture. And for us being Zimbabwean, you're also thinking, what's my totem? That already identifies me with a certain lineage. So more of who I am inside, but speaking deeper than just who we're seeing as not just the person that we are physically.
Our theme for Scholastica is empowering future generations through heritage-based education and innovation. And I love that you're talking about culture, because Zimbabwe and Africa as a whole, and the whole world, is filled with diversity of cultures. And if you don't know who you are and where you come from, you will never know what you're capable of. You will never know what you're capable of and what you could do. So I love what you're sharing and what you're amplifying at this moment. Yeah, the totems. Yeah, you should be proud of where you come from, your history and that. Be proud of it. Yeah, love that. How can we positively transform without losing who we are?
So I like your point on the heritage-based learning. And I think that's really important. And also at the point that we are, where there's been a feeling of people losing who they are, and especially when it came to the younger generation that we have now, where I'm at 2000, people are thinking they're going in the wrong direction. So heritage learning really brings in historical background and understanding who we are and where we came from. And for me, that's really important, because I need to identify with my background, my language. For me, language is also important. And being able to speak it and understand it. So it also, for me, goes beyond just our historical, but learning who people were. So I'll join this in to talk about where women come in. Because like you said, our culture is very rich, but I think like any other culture, there's a lot of biases when it comes to how it's been passed down. So when it's infused within the educational system, you're now learning, there's also a truth to what you're learning. So it goes just beyond the folktales that we used to hear. You're now hearing what really happened. And there's, for women, for me and girls, there's also an identification of leaders that were within the community. So when you hear folktales that we used to hear, some of them will speak to women as mothers, as carers, but sometimes the voice of them being leaders is also silenced. But when you then go into heritage-based education, we're now learning about leaders like Mbuyanyanda, spirit mediums that were women. And now as a woman, I can identify myself within a leadership position. And I remember someone said that you can't be what you can't see. So if women can see other women as leaders, you can then also aspire, oh, okay, it's actually possible for me to lead because I've seen a woman that looks like a leader. So I can see myself in her. So for me, it's really important to bring back our background, where we came from, and show that in a light that also speaks to young girls, so that they can aspire to be more than what they've seen before.
When you speak of, can you rephrase it for me? Like, you can't be what you can't see.
Yes.
Yeah. This image of a caterpillar looking in the mirror and seeing a butterfly just popped up. Yeah. Like, yeah. I love that. Oh man. What does heritage-based education mean to you, especially in relation to gender empowerment?
Yeah, so I'll reiterate that for me, heritage-based education, rather, to me means talking about our history, our background, talking about our language, our culture, where we've come from, and reinstating this. When I come back to communications, I think a lot about how it's important to share our story. That it's not just what we've heard from other people, but important that we tell our story the way that we know it. So heritage-based education becomes very important because as Zimbabweans, we are telling our story, where we came from, who we are, how we came to be who we are now. And when it comes to gender and infusing that, like I said, we are able to identify ourselves in our stories, but also women are able to tell their stories themselves. And that's a lesson to young girls that are coming up.
So from your story, you mentioned how you moved from one degree to the other, still trying to find your footing. And it makes me think of career guidance. Yeah, let's get into that. For young people passionate about writing, communication, advocacy, or social justice, what career paths can they explore?
So for me, there's a lot. when you hear about someone doing media studies or journalism, people usually want to narrow it down to just one path that you could go into, but there's a lot, and there's a lot that you can combine with. So thinking about communications in development, there's people that would just communicate by photography, for example, but showing how do you infuse photography with issues like climate change. So you're going beyond. You're not just taking photos, but you're using your skill to talk about climate change and including communities on how best can we then also participate in the journey of saving our environment. So that there's issues of policy analysis, and even analyzing policy, but also communicating it. So there's a great need for me when I think of communications. You're thinking of how do you break down information from a technical position to a layman's term. So say it's just a policy that's been brought out. For example, NDS 1 or 2. It's come up. If it's technical, how do I communicate it to someone that's within the rural areas that does not have, maybe they ended at O level? How do I break it down for them to understand it so that they're the same level as the person that's in the office? So that's already another pathway. So besides that, like I said, now we're going into content creation. Is it for social media? Is it for billboards? What are we doing? So there's a lot and a whole minefield that people can actually go into when you think of communications. But something else that's important to me is how can you fuse it with something that you're passionate about? That's not just communications. So like I'm saying, you enjoy writing. You study maybe and do a media studies degree, but your passion might be in issues that deal with women. So how do you bring that up to say, this what I'm, if you want to specialize in that, what particular area of women's rights are you participating in, infusing that with your communication? But a lot, you can think of people that write, these speech writers, people that will coach other people to speak because they know the skill and they know the know-how. So there's a lot to actually think about and a lot to explore when it comes to communications.
Wow, what a time it is to be alive, you know, because we now have exposure in terms of career guidance. Unlike back in the day when there weren't so many mentors, and internet is a blessing. If you know how to use internet and social media, it can be a very big blessing. Like yesterday, I was having a conversation with someone and they were saying, TikTok, for example, you can watch robotics, you can watch science stuff. You don't have to always binging maybe on dance challenges. Yeah. But not that they're bad, there's nothing bad, but too much of something can be toxic. So it can be done in moderation and not in extremes. So he was saying you can also watch these science videos and learn on TikTok. So it's a great time to be alive, and career guidance in that regard is, yeah.
And I think when we talk about career guidance as well, the importance, like how do we bring it up from a young age? Because for me, I'm thinking, although we're always asked what you want to be when you grow up. And we did write compositions about that. And sometimes it did change every time. Like when you're in grade 1, you want to be something else. And then when you're
everyone wants to be a doctor, a lawyer.
And by the time you get to high school, you want to be something that's different. Yeah. So just think about how best can we bring it in at a younger age and then start nurturing it from then. I like how some institutions are now then giving young people a platform that during their O levels, they also have a time to go into programs that they want to do. So for example, you want to be a doctor, they facilitate for a space for you to go into an actual hospital and stand in you. There's a patient that comes in, maybe you actually don't like blood, but you're thinking, I want to be a doctor. So that gives you a moment and a time for you to think, okay, this is what I want to do, but I actually don't enjoy it. So coming in from an earlier age, as opposed to speaking of career guidance only when you get towards your A-levels or when you need to choose subjects for your A-levels. So think about it from a very younger age would make it better for young people to discover themselves earlier than later.
For sure. I remember when I was still in school, this was years ago. I'm just playing. I'm still a young one. Yeah, but we were given an opportunity. I think I was in Form 4. Yeah, that's a long time ago. Yeah, I was in Form 4. So we were given a platform to apply for what they called school on the shop floor. So we worked at Mpilo Hospital. I personally love hospitals. And so I was in the pharmacy department. Oh, I was so fulfilled. I was happy.
Yeah.
I was really happy. And I guess maybe it's just interacting with people that made it even better. So I guess maybe that's where I should be, interacting with people some way, somehow.
True. So that's important and like I'm saying, if it's brought in at a young age, then it really helps in your career trajectory.
Because I still remember a lot of the names of the pills, the deep names, and what the effects of the pills, and that's how much I learned. I remember the experience. I had my notebook there, and the one of the staff was like, "You're the only person from all the schools that have come who's got a notebook. You're the only." I was like, "Oh wow, okay." It shows like, so I really want to reiterate what you're saying, that it's important for children to be exposed to such environments. Yeah, career guidance is very, very important. And maybe had you been exposed to such, you would have literally begun that path earlier.
True. So I'm hoping, like, I think with any lessons in life, and which is something for me that I always hope, even for my nieces and my nephew, that they don't have to go through it to learn it. They can learn from my mistakes. So mistakes that I made, and for younger people as well, mistakes that we made are not supposed to be the same ones that they make. They need to learn from other people's, and so that their path is smoother.
Yeah, there's this quote that someone likes saying. He says, "Stupidity is doing the same thing twice, expecting a different result."
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't want to be aligned with stupidity. Yeah, we just want to be aligned with wisdom. What are some practical steps students can take to find their voice and start their journey in this space?
So like you said, I like what you said about you like to learn. For me, that's a starting, just being eager to learn. People are very privileged now. We're all very privileged that we have a space, internet, the coming up of AI, like you said, social media. What are you consuming? So when you're on TikTok, not just the dance videos, like you said, but also finding content that's helping you to learn. So a curious mind for me is very, like, it's top notch, because you're always wanting to know what's happening, and it goes into what you want to do. So I always go back to Communicator because that's my easiest. So you like to write, just write. There's a lot of free spaces. Start a blog, for example. It's free, and put your stuff out there. I found it difficult at first because I was quite nervous about people critiquing my work. But you'd find that the more that people would consume, the more that you're actually getting better and better. And the more someone gives you feedback, then you think, okay, the next time I write something else, then I'm going to need to correct what I did the first time. So just start doing it, and you find that you get better and better by just practicing.
I like to call it doing it afraid.
Yes.
Do it afraid. When you wait for the perfect time might not come.
Never a perfect time.
Yeah.
Never a perfect time.
And the perfect image that I was getting when you were just describing like how you'd write and just put it out, is like a blunt pencil. The more you write, okay, like putting on sandpaper. I think that's a better example. Putting it on sandpaper, it becomes sharper just by being exposed to the surface. So you putting it out there, putting yourself out there is like putting yourself on sandpaper to be sharpened, and eventually you find that tip.
Just this week, someone was mentioning that your first 100 items of whatever you put out are possibly not going to be very good. So whether it's your first 100 articles, you might have one or two that are good, but it doesn't mean you need to stop. You need to keep putting it out there. Or it was actually also specifically to people that are doing videos and putting them out there. That maybe your first 100 that you're going to post on YouTube are not actually good. Maybe you're going to have a few views, but the moment that you continue putting them out there, then more people are consuming your content. You're also getting better and confident because you're used to it. So you just need to start doing it.
Thomas Edison is a perfect example. The man who invented the globe. He failed 9,999 times, right? And on the 10,000th time, he found his wonderful moment. Yeah. So they call it the X factor. That's what they call it. Yeah, on the 10,000th time. I think that's patience.
10,000 times.
Yo, that's a lot of patience. So yeah, I love that. What skills and mindsets should they build now to grow into future leaders?
So, like I said, the learning and having a curious mind is top, because then that means you're also putting yourself in spaces that will allow you to grow. Something else that I've learned in my journey is the importance of volunteering. So putting yourself in spaces that will allow you to practice without actually being forced to do it. So I'll give an example. I was not a prefect in school. My leadership qualities were not very good at the time. Well, because I was never chosen. But I took a lot of leadership responsibilities within the church. So, for example, started a youth group. I started a library at the time. Also got into secretarial duties within the church. So I'd never had secretarial leadership training, but those same skills that I got from serving in the church served me when I became Secretary General of an SRC group. At some point, I was with one of a group of young people, entrepreneurs, and I was on the board, serving also as a secretary. And these are skills that I got from volunteering. So for me, the top three would be volunteering, always just giving your time, and looking for someone that you look up to. So it can be a mentor or someone that you can actually just shadow. And I cannot emphasize enough learning and being curious. Having a curious mind and just wanting to learn more will definitely nurture you into a leader.
I was thinking early today that time spent in service is not time wasted at all. You know, you always get it back somehow. Yeah, and
just today as well, we're speaking about how I was saying I started writing articles, like I was saying, for the newspaper a couple of years ago. I think maybe like 2008 or 18. I don't remember what year it was. But I would just send through to the newspaper to say, oh, I'm a student and there's something I'm passionate about. Can you put my work out? And they would. And even the blogging. But I'd never been paid for my work. But I was just putting it out there. I was saying it's only this year that I got my first writing job that actually paid me for something that I had written. But this is more than 10 years ago of just putting your content out there. So the patience, because I've also seen, especially in the creative space or in the arts and communication space, where like now a lot of people speak about not wanting to be given a space for exposure. Because I've seen spaces that will say, okay, we'll pay you like we're exposing you to, and a lot of people are saying, oh no, exposure is not a currency. But when you're still coming up, it is. Because you're getting into spaces that you would not get into if you did not have that certain talent. So you need to put your stuff out there, your work out there, before you can actually start seeing the monetary benefit of it. So here's the voluntary. Give your time and trust the process. I know people say, does the process? No, we're trusting it. But give your time, and while trusting the process, at some point, it will pay off sooner or later.
That is so funny. Does the process know that we're trusting? But I like to call myself an advocate for that, trust in the process, because I live it, and I like to say grace will take you to places where the algorithm won't even take you, because I'm a creative, and sometimes you'll try to do everything that is SEO friendly, search engine optimization friendly, yeah, but nothing will work. It only takes one person to identify you and lead you to a room that's got powerful people, and so you have to trust the process and not always, I know this is controversial, but not always be in a hurry to get money. Like sometimes social capital is more important, actually most of the time. Yeah, and then in the process you get to learn. Maybe you'll find someone who is a financial advisor and they'll teach you how to manage the money when it does come. Yeah, so for sure, I love that. I really do. Let's talk about the Dorcas Project. Is there a space or opportunity for heritage-based education and innovation in projects such as the Dorcas Project?
Yes, so the Dorcas Project works with orphan children and vulnerable young women. And in that, we are teaching them different skills. So not only digital literacy skills, but supporting them and empowering them in different aspects. For me, there's a great space for heritage-based learning. So also speak to, just besides the Dorcas Project, recently I just collaborated with a couple of other creatives for a project with the Zimbabwean German Society, where we are working with young women and teen mothers to then take them through a journey of empowering through digital literacy skills, creation of different forms of art, and bring that into financial literacy. But there's really a space that speaks to heritage-based, because when we speak about the arts, that's a lot of already heritage, and we're looking at our culture. Where does language come in? There's an aspect of bringing in local languages to that. Where does our culture and the space that we're in, especially when you speak about young women and teen mothers, what does our culture say about a girl that gets pregnant? And what learnings are we out of wedlock? What learnings are we taking from that? And what positives can we build from that? And how also do we have our younger girls learning about our culture and the positives that comes from that, and so that they can take that within their journey of life to become better people. So there's a great space when it comes to empowering young women and just thinking of the importance of their culture and their heritage and wanting to be better people themselves.
I love that. I can't add, I can't subtract. Love it. So this is a quick fire round, right? I'll just ask you a question and you give me like quick responses. Yes. Okay. One woman who inspires you and give me 3 reasons why.
Deborah from the Bible. Okay. Yes. So Deborah was a Janet of all things and the master of them all. Yeah. So she inspires me because she was a prophetess. She was a writer. She was a lot, and a leader. Judge, yeah. Yes, she was a judge. So to me, it's possible to be more than just one thing. That's why she inspires me.
A writing tool or app you love?
I love WordPress because that's where I started as a blogger. So gave me the opportunity and the space to share my opinions and my thoughts.
Okay. Favorite traditional dish?
Not a dish. Oh, Mutakura. I don't know what it's called in
In English, what's it?
Oh, it's a mix of peanuts and groundnuts.
Inkobe.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Inkobe. Yeah. Okay. Okay. One life. Yes. Inkobe. Yeah. One life lesson you swear by?
Everything happens for a reason. So I'll say, like I was saying with my path in life, sometimes I always used to ask myself, why did I go around in circles? But there was a lot of learning that I got from that. When I got out, when I look back now, I'm like, okay, God, I get you. I get why you made me go through that. And so everything happens definitely happens for a reason.
Okay, please finish the sentence for me. My hope for Zimbabwean youth is?
My hope for Zimbabwean youth is that they will believe in the equality of both genders, and that they see a future where both women and men will not have to compete, but have to work together.
You've been such a joy to have.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming here and sharing this wonderful knowledge. I'm pretty sure the guests loved you. I definitely loved conversing with you, and I learned. I definitely learned so much that I'll carry with me going forward. I wish you the best in your life, and more awards, more accolades. Yeah, all the best.
Thank you. It's been good being here, and I hope to have more spaces to speak and to interact, especially with young people and young women, because that's my passion.
Scholastica is coming up. We hope to have you there on the 30th to the 1st of August, 30th of July to the 1st of August. So hope this is an invitation.
I'm there.
Yay! Then you'll see her there. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and drop a comment. Show her some love. And yeah, keep the conversation going. I am Tinashe Madamombe, and this is Scholastica. See you next time. Bye for today.